Hello and welcome to the Reviews Brothers. By now you know that I'm a fan of new games that are made in the style of old games. It's not really surprising as I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I'm glad to say that there's loads of really great games coming out that still keep the look and feel of gaming from that era. And that's what we're looking at today, even more games that keep that retro feel but are available for modern systems. This is the third video I've done on this topic, so make sure you check out the others in this series to see if your favourites are in there. And now, how about I shut up, you press that subscribe button, and we take a look at some games. First up is Atomic Owl, where you play as Hidalgo, an owl. You're eating at your favourite ramen spot when suddenly the evil Omega Wing, a bastard crow, appears. He corrupts your friends, so you set off to save them and meet a strange talking sword who becomes your weapon to help you out. This game is a 2D action-adventure that I believe you kids call a roguelike, a genre of games that I'm not really that familiar with. I've played a few, but not many. You take Hidalgo through a series of levels like caves, forests, enemy bases and so on, and your mission is to fight and platform your way through a bunch of enemies and obstacles until you get to the boss of the level, almost all of which are your former allies who have been turned evil. You have to fight them to save them. As you're a ninja owl thing, you've got a few attacks and abilities that you can do. Firstly, you can run, jump and wall jump pretty damn well, with some good responsive controls. You can also dash left or right or even straight up if you need a bit more height to the end of your jump. And then you have your attacks, and you actually have a few weapons right from the start. You've got your magic sword, a chain, an axe and a massive broadsword. Each of the weapons works slightly differently, with different attack power, speed and range. For example, the axe is a thrown weapon and is thrown in an arc, kind of like in Castlevania. The sword has a short range but is fast, and the chain, which is the weapon I use the most, has a good range and does decent enough damage. Levels have a load of enemies in them, but honestly all the sprites here are so damn small that you can never really tell what things are meant to be. They all look like little demon guys, and all I know is that they need to die. There's no fancy combos or anything like that here, you have just one attack button, but it's often hard not to take damage thanks to everything being so small. It can make enemy attacks hard to see and avoid, and even makes judging distances tricky sometimes. This means you'll probably die a lot, but that's okay, it's kind of the point of games like this. If you do die, you'll have to go back to the start of the game. That's right, the start of the game. But don't worry, as when you do die, you go to a limbo area, where you can purchase upgrades and power-ups before being given another chance. These vary from being able to double or even triple jump, giving your weapons elemental properties for more damage, having regenerating health, getting bonus lives and that sort of thing. This means you will get further every time you play. You also get more health and magic weapons, so you will last longer. It's a mechanic used in most of these games, I believe, and I do actually kind of like it. Killing enemies will make them drop green orbs that act as currency, and you can find plenty of them just laying around in the stages as well. And the stages can be quite long. You do move pretty fast and there's lots of platforming to do. You'll need to jump, wall run and dash to avoid spikes, lasers and bottomless pits, but the controls are fast and responsive. I actually prefer the platforming to the combat here. Now the game looks good. I am a little hesitant with that, as I do really like the neon aesthetic that the game has, and it's got some really great backgrounds, and I have a love for neon cyberpunk games in general, but the tiny sprites actually put me off a little bit here, as the whole time I was playing I just wished I could see a bit more. I know it is a design choice, and it's not something everyone would dislike, it was just not really for me. Overall though, I do think this is a good game, I just find it a bit annoying. I'm not sure roguelikes are for me in general, as I do find having to replay loads of sections over and over again quite tedious, though I did want to keep trying, so it must be doing something right. It does also help that the music is great, and I really like that. If you like a challenge, then this is worth a look, but if you don't like roguelikes, I'm not sure this is going to change your mind. If you're craving a new beat 'em up so you can punch loads of people in the face, then you might want to check out Fallen City Brawl. This is a cool game that looks like it would have been right at home on the Neo Geo with some cool scaling and detailed sprites. It is your standard beat 'em up story, set in 1989, about a naughty gang that have taken over a city and have all their thugs everywhere, so a bunch of rogue cops and vigilantes team up to punch everyone in the face and stop them from being bastards. The gameplay here is pretty simple. You go from left to right and punch everyone you see. There's 4 characters to choose from, and yep, they each have the variations of speed and power that you'd expect. So you've got the fast but weak lady, the hulking slow but strong bloke, and a couple of in-betweeners. Usually in games like this, there's a character that I don't really like playing as, like Max or Skate from the Streets of Rage games, but I did actually enjoy playing as everyone here. They each have their regular combo that you can do by hammering the attack button. You can also do jump attacks, and each character has their own weapon. You get a couple with guns, the strong guy has dynamite, and the sexy lady has a giant wrench. All of these weapons have limited use though, even the wrench. Guns have ammo, and the wrench will get damaged, but they're all very powerful and you do get refills that enemies drop, so don't be afraid to use them. As well as this, you get cool running special attacks by double tapping the button and then the attack button, and these are often decent combos and good for crowd control. Fighting enemies makes them drop diamond things. Collecting these builds your riot meter, which has 3 stages, and depending on how many you've collected, when you're ready to use it, just hit the button and you'll move faster and do more damage, and maybe even do a massive screen clearing attack depending on how far up the bar is. Killing enemies in this mode also makes them drop coins, and as this is a fake arcade game, you'll need the coins if you want to continue. It's a cool mechanic and the effects are really great, and even better, if you're playing as Natasha, her pet dog comes in to help fight the bad guys. And you get a good variety of enemies here as well, though nothing you haven't seen before. There's thugs and punks and people riding bikes, karate guys, ninjas, and even some mutant looking people. None of them do anything too groundbreaking, and for the most part you can just walk up to them and start punching them in the face without much trouble. You do get a few at a time, so it is possible to get overwhelmed, especially when they're throwing stuff at you, and it can actually sometimes be hard to see what's going on with the amount of stuff happening. What doesn't help, but quite deliberately, is that the levels have plenty happening in them. There's snow to wade through, long grass and other obstacles in the stages that can make it tricky to even see enemies, but I believe in you, so you'll be okay. And then there's the bosses, which are always very large and tough. Though I did find I could cheese most of them with my special attacks if I timed it just right. Just don't stand near them when they've been knocked down and you'll be fine. I will say I was pretty underwhelmed by the final boss. In fact, I didn't even realise it was the final boss. I thought it was just a mid-boss, and then I beat him up and the credits rolled. Oh well. Graphics wise, the game does look great. It uses a 16 or 32-bit pixel style with loads of detail and big chunky sprites. The animation is what you'd expect, but very good. The actual fighting is well done, but can feel a bit imprecise at times. It's hard to explain, but sometimes it feels like one of those games where the characters are marionettes, if you know what I mean. But it works, and is certainly not enough to ruin the experience. If you like these types of games, then you'll likely have fun with it. It's not as in-depth as some of the more modern games of this genre, but it is a fantastic looking throwback that would be really great to play through with a friend. We'll stick with the punching and kicking with Karate Survivor. This is a really fun take on the whole Vampire Survivors style gameplay, but with a kung fu twist. There is no story really, instead you just get a series of levels, with all but the first one needing to be unlocked by meeting certain criteria. Each stage gives you a main objective, which is basically to stay alive for a designated length of time, usually around 15 minutes. If you manage this, the boss of the stage appears and you've got to fight them. But staying alive for 15 minutes isn't as easy as you'd think, as literally hundreds of enemies will keep appearing to take you down and you'll need to fight back. And here's where it gets interesting. There's loads of attacks available to you, but all of the combat is done automatically. You start each stage with just one attack, which is randomly assigned from the ones that have been unlocked. Then it's basically on the timer. You've got a film reel thing at the bottom of the screen that has 6 slots. These can be filled with more attacks, and is essentially the combo that you create, which constantly loops. So you start with just one attack and you'll have to wait for it to scroll through the rest of the cooldown before you get to attack again, no buttons needed. Defeating enemies makes them drop their teeth or money. Basically, money is XP and teeth are currency. Don't know why, but I dig it. Once you've leveled up, you get to choose from 3 random upgrades. It might be a new attack, and there are lots of attacks. You get a range of punches and kicks, each that have their own speed, range and power, as well as direction. Some attacks only attack to the left, some right, some up, some down, and other attacks might do 2, 3, or even all 4 directions at the same time. Choosing your attacks carefully really does help you as you want to build the best possible combo. There's also different colour attacks, and all the attacks have numbers. Using attacks of the same colour, as well as trying to order your combo so the numbers are in sequence, gives you even more attack bonuses, like a better range and power. You can even upgrade the attacks you have to improve their stats. You got all that? It's really fun to play around with the different ones you get and see what style works for you. As well as this, you also get other bonuses to choose from, like increasing your speed, attack power, amount of money or XP dropped, and so on. Personally, I always try and get XP if it's available so I can level up faster. Then you just keep walking around while your character automatically attacks the hordes of enemies. But there is even more. Levels have a ton of weapons in them, like baseball bats, buckets, bread, pipes, and even guns. These can be picked up and deal a good amount of damage, and some are thrown for a ranged attack. This is one of those games that where when you die, you use the money that you have to upgrade your base stats. So you start with stronger attacks, faster speed, or more XP, that sort of thing, making things subsequently easier every time you try. It's unlikely you'll beat any level on your first go. The levels also have hidden objectives in them, like having to collect a certain number of items, finding a certain character and chasing them, or playing King of the Hill and protecting a certain area for a little while. Completing these gets you bonus XP. And you can even unlock abilities like wall jumps, using the scenery to attack enemies, or being able to jump over tables and things in order to make a quick getaway. There's quite a lot in here. It's really fun to unlock all of these and use them, and the game is incredibly addictive and will keep you playing for hours. Sadly, there's not that many levels, certainly not at the moment, as it is quite a new game, so it won't take long for you to get through most of it. The graphics are great though, with an awesome 32-bit pixel art style, with some excellent animation that's super smooth. Each level is unique and has a good selection of enemies specific to that stage as well, though they do all basically behave the same. This is just a really fun game that you can play for a few minutes or spend hours unlocking everything. It's also incredibly cheap. This one is highly recommended. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm a really big fan of point-and-click adventure games, and Neon Heart City is a really cool cyberpunk-themed mystery. You play as Elijah, a private investigator in a futuristic neon city that really looks like something out of Blade Runner or that sort of thing. You're contacted by a woman who wants to hire your services to find her missing daughter. In this world, the government has a habit of erasing people's memory to keep them in line, and she started having recollections of memories of her dad, which should have been erased, and then she went missing. So you've got to try and track her down to see if you can find out what the hell is going on. As with many games like this, the story is what keeps you playing, so I don't really want to spoil it too much, but it has a really great engaging one about androids, government cover-ups and rebel groups. The gameplay is simple, as it's just a point-and-click adventure game. You point your mouse and click on things to interact with them. You'll meet lots of characters along the way, and talking with them will give you various clues as to what you need to do and where you need to go.
Rest in peace, Jackal.
The city is quite large, and talking to people often unlocks new places of interest on your map, which will contain new items, puzzles and characters. The puzzles here are the main thing, and as with most games of the genre, they're often very cryptic, or can be a bit silly, in terms of how you solve them. But if you've played games like this before, you'll know what to look out for. There's definitely times where you'll be wandering around aimlessly trying to look for a clue you've missed or the item that you need to interact with something. As always, my advice for a game like this is if you're stuck, to basically go to every location you can and try using every item on everything else, and eventually something will likely happen. Also, don't forget to use every item in your inventory with all the other items in your inventory, as sometimes you'll need to combine things. The graphics here are really great, looking just like LucasArts games from the 90s. The characters are all decent looking and the backgrounds are great, and usually have something going on in the background, though I'd have liked a little bit more. Surprisingly, the whole thing is voice acted too, which I didn't expect, but that was a nice touch and really helped me care about the characters and story. Amazingly, I didn't come across anyone that I thought was annoying or obnoxious. The characters are well written, and coupled with the excellent music, the game just gives a really polished feel. If you're a fan of games like this, then I definitely recommend giving this one a go.
Better not ask.
You hit up the scrapyard, didn't you?
So, you want me?
Here is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, a brand new 2D Ninja Gaiden game that takes the series back to its console roots. This is a fantastic side-scrolling action game where you take control of Kenji, a member of the Hayabusa clan, as in Ryu Hayabusa, the main guy from most of the other Ninja Gaiden games. Your village comes under attack and you blame the evil Black Spider clan, rivals of yours. So you set out to get revenge, but soon find out that it's not the Black Spider clan. Instead, there's a portal to a demon dimension that's the source of the Scourge, and you end up teaming up with a member of the Black Spider clan, who also happens to be a sexy woman, to work together and stop the demons. The story is all very dramatic and actually pretty cool, with the game having some really good mechanics in it. You get a decent variety in levels, most of which require you to go from left to right, fighting everything in your way. Being a ninja, you're a nimble little rabbit. You can run fast and attack while running, which I really like. Most enemies take just one hit, though there are plenty of tougher enemies that take more. You've got a sword as your main attack, and pressing jump a second time while in the air makes you do a spin attack sort of thing, and this is an essential move to master, as it lets you bounce off enemies, or even enemy projectiles and attacks, essentially giving you a double jump off of their heads, and this can be used basically as much as you want. Unlike most games like this, you don't have a regular double jump. This leads to some really fun and tough platforming sections where you need to combo attacks and enemy bouncing to reach higher areas or avoid bottomless pits and so on. It's very fun to do, and usually what you need to do to find some of the hidden items in the levels. You can also cling to almost any surface, and the levels have a lot of verticality to them. And you have a power-up mechanic here. Some enemies have a blue or pink indicator over them. Killing them with the right attack, blue for your sword or pink for your throwing dagger thingies, will power up your next attack for that weapon. This basically kills your next enemy in just one hit if you connect. But you do have to be careful not to just spam the attack button, as you could just immediately waste your attack if you're not paying attention. It's actually a cool way to make you think about what you're doing and not just flail around like a madman. You've also got certain obstacles that need to be destroyed with a powered up attack, or switches that can be pressed with your throwing attack from a distance. If you're not powered up, you can hold the attack button to sacrifice some of your life to power yourself up, but use it wisely. And you do really need to have your wits about you, because you're constantly bombarded with enemies that want you dead, and I really like the enemies here. You get a great variety of demons and soldiers to kill, and they all look and animate really well, with some really satisfying bloody deaths. And the bosses are also really great as well. They're huge monsters with patterns that you'll need to learn. It's not easy to beat them on your first try, but I will say that most of them didn't take me more than 3 or 4 goes to figure out and beat. It all looks fantastic. The sprite work and animation on everything here is incredible, with some fantastic animation and great use of colour and a ton of variety. I never got tired of looking at the game. Now, there is a lot more to it, like how your characters are fused together and things like that, but it's one of those games where it's really fun to find these things out on your own. I could rave about the game for ages, but I won't bore you. Instead, I'll just say that this is an absolute must-have. And finally for today, here is Primal Planet. Here you take control of a funky caveman dude who is doing funky caveman things with his family, when suddenly they're taken away from him by a rival tribe. You set out to get them back, only for something even more strange to happen. You come across aliens. It turns out the evil tribe are helping the aliens abduct people, presumably for nefarious purposes, so you go on a quite tragic mission to stop all of it. There is never any dialogue or anything like that, and all the story is told through short cutscenes and actually done pretty damn well. So then you're thrown into a pretty large open world filled with dinosaurs, aliens and evil other cavemen on your quest. The game is basically a 2D Metroidvania style game. You've got quite a large map that's divided into a bunch of areas. You'll need to explore each area, which is represented as a tile on your world map, to look for resources to craft items, as well as things like keys to open new areas, and of course take care of any enemies that you come across. Your little caveman chap is pretty nimble and can move fast, run, jump, wall jump and so on. You've got a little knife to use as your attack, which the game calls a club, which, I'll be honest, annoys me a bit. It's got a short range, but it's reliable. As the game progresses, you learn to make spears which are more powerful and can be thrown, but they don't last forever. And you also learn to make throwing knives out of sharpened bones, and even a bone trap that you can lay. But again, these all have limited uses, and you'll need to find crafting resources to make them. The combat here is simple, but not always easy. You've only got one attack button, and will fight a range of dinosaurs, some small ones, as well as some larger raptors, giant crocs, and of course T-Rexes and even a megalodon. These battles can be quite tough, so what you want to do, especially early on, is a bit of grinding. Killing enemies, finding secrets, and killing things like butterflies gets you XP. Earn enough XP and you'll get a skill point. Then you'll want to find a campfire. This is where your game is saved, but also you can craft items and also upgrade your skills. You can get more health, stronger attacks, bigger pockets for more resources or ammo, and even better abilities like a double jump and air dash, and you can increase your speed and how long you can hold your breath for in underwater sections. And take it from me, you don't want to ignore any of these abilities. Eventually you get strong enough to take out the larger dinos with too much hassle, and it doesn't take long for the other tribesmen and even alien enemies to become basically more of a pest than a threat. As you explore, you will rescue your village friends, and what's cool is that you can then start rebuilding your village. The people you rescue can teach you new abilities, for a price of course, like being able to make antidotes to poison, teach you how to use a flaming spear, or even make something that refills your oxygen underwater. These things are all very handy too, though do come at a high price. You can even hire them to come and help you. Each one of the cavemen and women have their own strengths and weaknesses, and they'll follow you around and help you fight enemies. They won't die, but if they take too much damage, they'll just go back to the village. Your map screen has pictures on some of the tiles giving you clues as to where you want to go next, but never gives you clear direction, so sometimes you can be left wondering where you're meant to be going and what you're meant to be doing. But keeping an eye on the map does always help, as you can see where you haven't explored yet, and usually that's where you need to end up. I do think an option to put indicators and markers on the map would have been nice, especially as late in the game you need a very certain number of an item, and I do remember seeing a bunch of what I needed but cannot remember where I found them, meaning I basically have to go back and explore every inch of every part of the map again, which is kind of annoying. It looks decent with some really good sprites, and the animation is excellent on everything as well. I especially love the backgrounds and the dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. That's what made me want to play the game in the first place actually. I'm a sucker for anything with dinosaurs in it, and this one is certainly a lot of fun. While it can be frustrating at the start while you're kind of weak and not sure where you need to go, once you level up a bit and get to know how the map works, the game is a lot of fun. Until this end bit I'm on where you need to find a ton of crap, then it's kind of annoying again, and I'm actually dreading going back to it to find all the stuff. But still, I would definitely recommend this game, as I am having a really good time. So there you go, even more retro style games that come out sort of recently. I love these style games, so please keep recommending more to me. I especially like the ones that aren't talked about as often. On screen now you can see where you can follow me, so why not do so? I got loads of great content for everyone to enjoy. And now what's left for me to say is thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.